us. We really appreciate your time on this broadcast. This hour is another weekend and it's another Saturday. And today is a special day. Happy Children's Day to all the children all over the world, especially the African child. Happy Children's Day to you all. Welcome to another beautiful time on the African Portal Radio TV International. This is the hour and this is the time when we celebrate our children and when we put on the spotlight one of the great African leaders, one of the leaders that believe in the growth of this continent. And we have with us in the studio, HRH King, Professor, Ambassador, Engineer Oyeche Promise Obina, live and direct on the African Portal Radio TV International. It's going to be a great conversation as we're going to be talking about the family value, which we been on this journey for 3 weeks now. We're going to link it with the celebration of today, which is the African Child celebration and children celebration. So let's connect with this broadcast no matter where we are, no matter where you sit, no matter the country you reside. I greet you according to your time zone and I greet you according to your language. Welcome to another great time. Sir, it is a great pleasure having you back on this program this weekend. And I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you believing in this cause and believing in the continent of Africa. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. That is a pleasure being alive and witnessing yet another great episode, which events of the past 3 weeks has further buttressed the topic we've been deliberating on, the African family values. Events of the promotion of the statutory gains of believing in the African family values and the product of the family unit, which is the African child. We want to celebrate each and every one of us because we are product of the childhood upbringing of the African continent. So we are celebrating both the adults today who has grown past the children level or stages in life into adulthood. We're also celebrating our children because the values at which we were instilled, grown, tutored, nurtured are the same values we have to transfer to our children. So we are also children in adulthood, training children to become adults. So I celebrate the African continent, I celebrate the Nigerian nation because particularly the 27th May celebration is a special day marked out by the Nigerian nation to celebrate the children and also to look into the challenges faced by our children, So, and as the giant of Africa, whatever we do in Nigeria translates into the continent in general. By the United Nations Global, Day celebration. The Global Children Day falls within November and December, depending on the timing and everything. So it's within November and December for the Global Children's Day celebration, as in terms of the global celebration by the United Nations. But as the African continent focuses its challenges on the peculiarity of the child and family unit. So we are celebrating children for May 27th, within the Nigerian nation and African continent. So we celebrate the African child. We celebrate the parenting of the African through the family unit. And we celebrate the African continent. And from the ancestral stool of His Royal Excellency, King Professor Ambassador Engineer Oyeche Promise Obina, and under the platform of the Supreme Council of African Ancestral Kings and Royalty, in partnership with the African TV Radio Portal International, South Africa, we celebrate all African child today, believing God, that the God Almighty, the Creator, and the gods of our ancestors who continue to project, protect, preserve, and help us to train our kids, because it is often said by the Holy Bible that we should train up a child in the way he should grow, and when he becomes old, he will not depart from it. And that way this child should grow is in the African cultural traditional way, which has to do with respect, honor, integrity, dignity, and tolerance. These are the African concepts of child upbringing. So today, we celebrate the African child. We'll say congratulations to every child that is still alive, breathing, and hoping for a brighter future. Congratulations and happy Children's Day celebration. Thank you, Daddy. And congratulations to you for being an apostle of this great continent. May the gods of our ancestors and Almighty God, the creator of the universe, bless, protect, and preserve you and your family. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and I really celebrate you for being a great African leader and for believing in this continent, Africa. Thank you very much, sir. So let's quickly go to the conversation of today, because we have a lot of things to cover today. There is a saying in Africa that says that it takes a village to raise a child. That is one of the beliefs of Africa. That is what we believe in this continent. But this narrative, this adage is no longer in disposal. A lot of people don't believe in this, and a lot of people don't practice this. As a matter of fact, we live in the society where child is doing something wrong, and you see the adult pull their face away. And there's a saying in Yoruba land that say, "Agbakiwa loja korori omo tuntun kowo." That is to say, an elder cannot be in the market and see the child putting head, somehow, and not telling the mother to put the head very well. These are the things that is happening in our society now, that the adults don't even want to correct the children of today's anymore. They see the wrong thing, they pull the face away. What is causing this, and what is the solution to it?
Yeah, thank you. Let's take it from the background. That is why I said I am a proud African child. I was trained, brought up in the African way, and I'm training my children and bringing them up in the African way. And I will die on an African soil in an African way, and I'll be buried on an African soil through an African tradition and cultural norms. And that is how I can be fulfilled. Now, by the concept of African culture and tradition, when a child is born, the child is born into his family in a community. And that is why when a child is born, the king's men comes together and celebrate the birth of the child. Meaning that this child is not born just to the family, but the child is born to the community and becomes a property, an inhabitant of the community in terms of ownership, in terms of upbringing. The child becomes the responsibility of the community, not just the family. Now, from that moment the child is born, the community, narrowing down to the king's men, comes together. They share drinks, they celebrate, and they congratulate the biological parents of the child. Now, from that moment, you see, family members or community members will start bringing gifts to the child. Some people, when the day breaks, they come and say, "Oh, One tabero word tele, meaning our gift from God, our newborn, has he or she working? They begin to care, to feel concerned about this child, and they begin to monitor the growth of this child. When it is time for the child to sit, to crawl, to stand, to walk, everybody will show concern. If those time comes and the child is not measuring up to the growth, you see, everybody will start running around to know if there are health challenges, if there are spiritual challenges, if there are issues that is making this child not to measure up to growth, considering the time of growth. Now, that concern grows from that initial care to monitoring every aspect of this child's growth. Because the child is not just a born for the family, but the child is a born for the community. And they monitor this child, his behavioral attitude, in terms of advice and everything, until the child becomes an adult. Now, by the African concept of child upbringing, if the child's family lacks the necessary resources to see this child through school, in most cases, the community contributes money, sends the child to school, and most communities have their children whom they send abroad to study, because they take it as a sense of pride to see that their child became a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a pilot, many professions. So communities back in the days take it as a sense of pride that, oh, we have engineers, we have doctors, we have lawyers. They are not saying this family has, they are saying the community has. We have professor, we have this. So in order to maintain this team of professionals in the community, so communities contribute money from their resources. Some of them who sell farmland, who do oil mill businesses and all that, they generate revenues, which they keep in the community box. So from there, they train a lot of their wards, send them to the best schools, if those who wants to go into businesses, they support them with capital to trade. After learning, they engage them, they have agreement with their masters, they learn. When they finish the training or learning the business, they provide capital for them to trade. So communities pride with, oh, we have a renowned businessman in our community, we have an industrialist, we have a professor, we have this, we have that. So that is the concept at which the African child is being raised. Now, for the fact that this child is the property of the community cares for this child. And also, in turn, the child becomes responsible to the community too. You don't just go message for your biological parents alone. You see every elderly person in the community as your parent. When there is need to assist an elder in the community, you see children volunteering, maybe to fetch water, to fetch firewood, to clear farmland, and all that. So there was this mutual understanding of love, orderliness, cordial affection in everything the Africans were doing. And this added so much to the value of the African child. When a parent is traveling, you see, the parent doesn't have to look for where they will keep the child under a good care. You can say the neighbor, the stepmom, the step-parents, or anybody, oh, please, we are going to the next community for something. I'm going to spend a day or two. Please, my child will be, and people will gladly say, oh, come, bring the child. They'll keep the child, take care of the child. And till the parent returns, the child will be properly taken care of. There was no dispute of whatsoever in caring for someone else's child, because you take that child as your own. It's a property of the community and not the immediate family. So, and this is how children were raised, and we were proud of the African child. The promotion based on the integral understanding of culture and tradition of our people. And that is why adages of, like the one you said, that an elder doesn't see a child bending his neck in the market without telling the mother. So correcting a child, that is an adage. It means that be you biologically or conventional parent, the welfare of a child is the responsibility of every adult. The welfare of a child, in caring for a child, is a collective responsibility of every adult. So it mustn't be your own biological child. So long as you are an adult or you are advanced a little in age to know what caring for a child is, you must live up to that responsibility because nature have made it so. Now, and that is what the African continent built on. Coming to what is happening in our recent times, the rate of division that came along civilization is quite absurd. Division in the family, divisions in the community, people began to segregate. Unhealthy competition. The era of community training, their children is no longer there. Because most time, when community trains, parents who feel they are not civilized will say, ah, it's my child. It's no longer the child of the community. When the child returns after acquiring all through the effort of the community and wants to do something for the community, the parents will say, no, don't do this, don't do that. Because you now feel you have a right as a biological parent to a child based on what civilization had taught people. And that is why community no longer train. Because after training, parents try to circumvent their effort and personalize the child. At the most time, religion has also cost us so much, because they will say, oh, don't go to the village. This one is your enemy. Don't allow your child to go to the step parent. They will poison the child. They will kill the child. These things have gendered so much division, have created so much violence, have been greatly affected by these divisions. And that is why when we analyze from decades back what the African continent enjoyed through the cultural and traditional practices we were engaged with, and what we are seeing now with the civilization and colonization, we begin to weep for the future generation. Everybody's a suspect now. Everybody's a suspect. A child can no longer go to the next door neighbor and drink water. Everybody's a suspect. The question is, why the envy? Why the fear? Why the suspense? Because we have left our value as Africans. We have left our culture and tradition. So a lot has happened. A lot. When we talk about living, abandoning our true identity as a people, and the pains it has cost us. Most people don't understand the narrative. They don't know the in-depth because they think we are just talking. In clear analysis, if we begin to detail on the pains we have been through as a continent by avoiding our true family values and our ways of raising a standard for our people through culture and tradition, most of us begin to understand why we are sounding the way we do. Traditionally, in every community, there is a ritual performed to protect the inhabitants of the land against evil. In our place, we call it Orikro. The Orikro ritual prevents anyone from harming his brother or sister. Through the Orikro ritual, when you plan evil against anyone, the evil will return back to you. So people had no fear of being haunted or being plotted. Everybody was living at peace, knowing that if you plan evil against me, the evil will go to you. So why will I be scared? And those that tried it saw it clearly. A lot of people died for trying to poison somebody. The poison will go back and kill that person. These are the things Africans used to protect the land. But nowadays, religion has taught us not to engage in such. And they preach the message of forgiveness and everything. But the question is, to that African man, what impact has those messages brought to us? Because we are Africans. Our system of worship, our system of living, our method of upbringing is different from every other continent. And if we don't imbibe those values, we will not get it right. When you know that the appeasement for the Orikro ritual is no longer there. So people who has evil intention can have a few days. They can plot and nothing will happen to them. So evil have overtaken the land. People are now plotting against people's children, harming people's children, because the African value of protecting her inhabitants has been desecrated. The screw that held the land firm has been loosened. So, no protection again. Children can be harmed now. And that's why I see most parents not allowing their kids to mix or to mingle within the communities because they are scared. Envy has led to a lot of things. I don't have a child. This one has a child. You start plotting. Back in the days, nobody dares it. When you try to plot against somebody's child, the cause will strike you dead. The cause will strike you dead. There's no negotiation. I say, those are the adages. Those are the adages. So whatever evil you plot against somebody returns back to you immediately without any negotiation. So the principle of karma was very, very explicit in the African context. And that is why people avoided evil, because they know when you plot their evil, the evil will haunt you. So the African child, from our ancestral upbringing, had a free society that was harmless. He was free to associate, was free to familiarize, was free to intermingle. And that enabled easy parenting. Because by the time the child freely mixes with other parents, the parents will look at the child and be able to spot if there are things the parents are not doing well, because there's an adage in a place that says, "Amamihe will call here, and I picture. Now one type of rule normal." So the more your child mixes with people, the more the child learns. So if you narrow a child to your own upbringing alone, the child will be lacking so many things. The adage I just put up means that knowledge is likened to a forest. So the more a child advances into the forest, the more knowledge he gets in the forest. So if you advance a kilometer, you also have a knowledge of a kilometer distance. If you advance 10 kilometers, you have a knowledge of 10 kilometers. So the more the child mixes with people, the more the child learns. So parenting before was better because children were allowed to mix with other families, learn family values, which their parents could not inculcate in them, both the male child and the female child. So it was easier for a child's upbringing to be a little bit balanced because there was a freedom of association with other families. Most families are more knowledgeable in parenting, while some are less knowledgeable in parenting. So when a child from a less knowledgeable family on parenting goes to a family that has a more knowledgeable experience in parenting, the child will learn from there and bring it back home. Maybe when the mother wants to do something, say, "Mommy, I learned this thing from this place. We don't do it this way, we do it this way." And if the mother is somebody that has an adaptive mind, you say, "Oh, Mom, let's try it this way." And when they try it, it works. So by that ability to mingle, associate, interact, interface with other families, parenting was easier. And the child had a balanced upbringing through a communal approach of parenting. But now, children have been deprived of that privilege of communal parenting because our land has been desecrated. Evil has overtaken the land because the ancestral screw that was holding the land firm is no longer there. Religion has killed it, and civilization finished it up. And that is why most people don't even caution someone's child again. Because sometimes when you want to correct someone's child, they will misinterpret it. That you are being hard on their children, or you are being abusive. So parenting has now been left to biological parents alone to do. And most biological parents are neither at home based on the occupational engagement or professional engagement. So children are left with the caregivers, either the nannies or any person who's a caregiver around them, who may not have the necessary values to inculcate on the child. And looking at the civilization aspect of it, within the African context, we spare not the rod to spoil the child. But by the Western upbringing of a child, you dare not use the rod on the child. When you flog the child, he will call it molestation. And he will call the security on you, the police, or child rights. They will come after you. But in Africa, you dare not misbehave. When you dare misbehave, your parents will use the rod on you. Because the African child mentality is well nurtured with the rod. When you remember that, if I do this thing, my mom will flog me or my dad will flog me, you will avoid doing it. But in Western world, a child knows that only caution, don't do this. It's even more high than flogging a child in Western world. But in Africa, there are child who say, don't do this. The child will go ahead and do it. Until you say, I will flog you if you do it. You see, that child will observe caution. So westernization exposed the children to a situation where you can't flog the child. When you flog, they say you are abusing the child. There are flogging that are corrective, and there are ones that are abusive. We are not talking about abusive and all that, because we have seen a lot of stories recently where people will abuse a child and inflict pains. That is not parenting. That is wickedness. When you want to punish a child, give me your hand. The child, you touch the stick on it. Mommy is painful. You see, you don't want me to flog you again. Don't do this. You see, that child will avoid it. Not beating a child using iron and a lot of things. That is not parenting. That is wickedness. And we condemn it in all totality. And traditionally, by the African context, if you wicked a child in that way, you face communal punishment. Child severely, because the child is the property of the community. You'll be paraded in the community. Because the child you are melting wickedness on is the property of the community. So the community's eye is always on parenting. So whatever you do excessively, the community will come in, apprehend you, and punish you. So in order to avoid communal punishment, most people say, you punish the child correctively, not abusively. That is how the African child was raised. Dignity was instilled, respect and tolerance was achieved. So in understanding the concept of parenting, His Royal Excellency, the Supreme Commander of African Ancestral Kings and Royalty, still maintains that our cultural methodology of child upbringing remains the best within the African context. And I stand to be challenged by anybody to show me the gains at which the civilized way has brought to us, and the pains as well it has brought to us. Thank you, Dari.
Very much, sir. I really appreciate you. Thank you for that beautiful explanation there. And that is a very great time to everyone joining us. I really appreciate it. And I want you to move closer, bring those children closer as well. Let them learn from the leaders. So you talk something about the correction, and that is the way we can correct a child in a way and the manner that will not be being that we abuse them or let's look at this generation right now. A lot of people believe that when you talk to a child, they should be able to understand what you are saying. And during the time of our father, there is a way, the parenting, that time is kind of very easy, because when you speak to a child or you tell a child to do something, it's very easy. But we're living in a society now that there are so many information. We are living in an era which is information era, and there is so much that children have access to, like getting to the internet, looking at the Facebook, looking at Instagram, see all manner of things, a woman exposing her body and stuff like that. I mean, how can we correct this, or how can we put this in a control in African way that it will not affect our children?
Yeah, thank you. It has to do more with parenting. You rate a child's growth with the level of exposure you give to the child. When we are growing up, There are things that you want to do. Your parent will tell you, don't do this until you are of age. By the African way of parenting, there are age you get to before you start doing certain things. It is a key point to note. Some families, a child that is below 10 has started handling Android phones. It's wrong. It's wrong. You weigh the child's age before you expose the child to certain things. Civilization is good to an extent, but we must weigh the level of growth of a child before exposing that child to certain things. A child in secondary school, what has the child got to do with Android phones? What you can do for a child is to get a child learning tabs that will enable the child get focused with learning, not exposing the child to certain things that will distract him. This phone, I don't know. No. It's shaking now. Nonsense.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We really appreciate it. We are still live and direct. His Excellency, I think he's encountering some challenges with the phone there, but we are still live and direct on this broadcast. Definitely is going to connect back with us that we continue with the this conversation. Thank you. I really appreciate every one of you. Are you still there, sir? All right. We are okay. Is going to connect back with us. Thank you, everyone watching us, everyone sharing the program. I really appreciate it. Keep sharing it, keep talking about it. Let it go viral. Let's quickly hear or sing as we celebrate African Day a few days ago. Let's enjoy this from one of our very own. Ludare is one of the great African leaders, and I'm using this time also to say on the 25th is African Day, but happy African Day to everyone. No matter where you are, we really celebrate this great day with you all. All right, let's enjoy some of the African song before we continue on this program. Let's enjoy this. We're coming back. Enjoy this. All right, thank you very, very much, everyone, joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. We sorry for that. I know network can be very funny sometimes. You can continue with the conversation, sir.
Yeah, thank you. There was a little interruption with the network. Like I was saying, you rate the level of exposure you give to a child. When you overexpose a child to certain things, you spoil the child. There are levels of growth at which a child attains to. You expose him to certain things. We have learning tabs for those who want to get their kids scientific tabs. We have learning tabs that is strictly programmed for educational purpose. You don't just see a little kid and you expose the child to Android phone. Even most parents cautiously give their personal phones to their kids to play with. These gadgets that are programmed for kids has restriction to kind of information they're exposed to. But your phone as an adult has no restriction because you're an adult. The child can carelessly log into a site and begins to watch unnecessary things he's not supposed to watch because the phone you're exposing the child to is an adult phone. So most of the challenges we are faced with is caused by parents themselves. Hey, leave the child. You want the baby to enjoy. You want the baby to do this. That doesn't mean anything. That is a wrong impression. You want to get an iPhone of 500,000, 600,000 for a child of 10 years? Of what value is that phone to that child? You overexpose the child, and before you know, you begin to complain that my child is misbehaving. You see young boys of 12 years, 10 years masturbating. You can imagine, because when they log into the sites, they watch these things and they want to practice it. Young kids of 9 years, 10 years, 11 years now masturbate. What kind of society are we building? The same thing with the young girls. A girl that's not up to 10, 12 years now masturbates. And before you know, they want to practice it. When they see their male folks or female folks, they want to practice what they watch on the phone. What kind of a parent do you want to be? This goes to parents. What kind of a parent do you want to be? A parent that aids the child to become an irresponsible adult, or a parent that grooms the child to become a responsible adult? You claim you want to expose your child to your wealth, not knowing that you're exposing the child to become an irresponsible adult, and tomorrow when they begin to misbehave, you say, oh, my enemies are at me, at you, but you are the enemy of yourself. So please, in parenting, we should be able to get kids what are kids' gadgets. When the kid grows, when a child enters the university, fine, you can get whatever you want to. If you want to get a phone of 2 million for a child, it's nobody's business, because that child has become an adult. Every child in the university must be exposed to the best of life. If you don't want to get a car for the child, fine, you can. You can get a car for your child at university, get the best phones, get the best gadgets, the laptops and everything. But once a child has not finished his secondary school, his or her secondary school, exposing that child to certain gadgets is bad parenting. You must get things that will aid your child to become knowledgeable and skillful towards growing into a responsible adult, and not getting things that would derail the child and lead the child to become an irresponsible adult. So the things we experience today, most of them are caused by parents, and some of them are caused by bad paths. Some of our kids, the kind of friends they keep, even if your child doesn't get it for you, your parent doesn't get it for you, they have friends whose parents get such things for. And when they meet at their quiet times, you see them watching, practicing things that are unhealthy. So their kids keep. Because you might be doing your best as a parent, but the kind of association your children keep will lure them into being children who are irresponsible. So please, parenting ought to be a communal thing. But since the communal aspect has been taken away, in line with civilization, parents should up their game now to look out for their kids. The kind of friends they keep, the kind of gadgets you give to them. When it comes to the movies the kids watch, there are parental control on the networks, be it DSTV, GoTV, or whatever. There are parental control. So parents should be able to install parental control to the visuals their children watch. Code your gadgets, because the children are our future. If we don't invest time and monitor them cautiously, we'll be building an unhealthy society that the one we are presently living now will be much more better to what will happen in the next 20 years. So he who fails to plan has already planned to fail. So as a parent, if you want to succeed in having children who will take care of you tomorrow in a responsible way, invest your time now and plan towards securing that safe future for them. So my advice remains that parents should know the kind of gadgets they expose their kids to until they are of age. Mind the kind of association you allow your children to have until they are of age to make a choice. When the child is of age, and after you have given the child the best upbringing, the child will be wise enough to make the best choice of the friends to keep. And if he decides to make the wrong choice, the blame will not be on you as a parent, but the child will face the consequences of his or her actions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. That's a very lovely one. Thank you so much. So that is an advice to the parents. Let's just put caution on it. Don't just put things, don't buy things for the children, all the name of you have the money to buy it. Let us put them in a place whereby that we understand the reality of life. And let's buy things that we add to their growth in a good manner, not the one that will destroy them, that will make them to go astray. So let's look at our movie industry these days. Is another thing that we need to look into, especially in Africa. Sorry about that, sir. Our movie industry is more into Western, and if you look at in those days, the movie industry become a space where the children learn African values, family values, and stuff like that, because they portray things that have to do with the culture and the tradition of the land. But we're living in a generation whereby the only thing that is trending is what is Western, or that things that is more civilized. What can we do to correct this, especially in Africa? Or what can we do to make sure that we let our children see sense in things that is more valuable than go for things that is not really valuable?
Yeah, thank you. I really love this question, because one of the things that has been bothering me. I want to say this clearly. To every organization, there is an aim and objective. And by the time you deviate from your aims and objective as an organization, you are no longer living your purpose. I don't know whether you got this narrative. To every organization, there is an aim and there is an objective to which the organization is formed. And when you leave those aims and objectives, you have failed in your primary assignment. The African movie industry, its aim was to project the African continent. There are contents of the African continent that the world needs to know about. What are those contents? Our system of life, the way we do things in Africa, in the African way. These are the things that producers and scriptwriters needed to go back to the drawing board and reinvent the African content. But it's unfortunate nowadays. You tune into the African Magic or whatever channels you have. What you are seeing is films acted by Africans in a foreign way. So why are those films being shown in African platform? You want to search out for movies that has to educate you on the African way of life, and you are seeing something being acted in a foreign way. That means the aim has been defeated. So to every movie showcased on the African platform has to pass a message of the African continent. There are a lot of contents that are untouched in Africa. There are a lot of stories that needs to be told. But people are no longer inventive. They are no longer creative. They follow the bandwagon event. People have acted film that has to do with blood money, and they cashed out of it. People watched it. Everybody wants to add blood money. People have acted a film that has to do with this. Everybody wants to. You don't sit back and create a content that passes a message on the sufferings of the African continent, that passes a message on the resources of the African continent, that passes a message on why are Africans Africans. Why do Yoruba people dress the way they dress? Why do Igbo people dress the way they dress? Why do Ghanaians dress the way they dress? Why do South Africans dress the way they dress? These histories has not been well exposed to the international community. Religion came to us through our own. There ought to be contents that detail in full the core religious practices of the African continent and why our people, the originality of these things. These are the things that the African platforms needs to be projecting. Every movie that will be showcased on these platforms, the actors must put on the African attire. You are acting movie that will be shown in African Magic and you are wearing suit. That is a misconception of the message, because Africans don't dress on suit traditionally and culturally. Suit is not our attire. It should showcase the epical content of the continent of Africa. We have our epical content that people will want to know. Why are Africans dressed like this? Even there are channels that are dedicated, they call it African Magic Epic. When you even go to African Magic Epic, you still see that most movies that are shown there is not even epic. So our content developers needs to have a rethink. They are not doing African good by the way they project the African story. You see why I love the Chinese and the Indians. When you log into the Chinese channel, it is rare you see a movie they act in English. All they do is that they translate. As you're watching the movie, you see the writing. They write the weddings in English, the translation. The Indians are the same. These are the things Africans should do. You are acting African movie. You are speaking English. Is English the African language? But when you act in African tongue, you translate it so that somebody who is watching will be learning the language at the same time. As you are writing it, the person will say, Bia, they say, come. Somebody watching will know, oh, in Africa, Bia means come. You need to market your product well for people to value it. Africans have demarketed our product in a very bad light. We have not represented this continent the way we ought to. And that is the problem. We want to westernize everything. Our language now, if care is not taken, in the next 50 years, most people will no longer speak their mother tongue anymore. In our schools, I don't know how many English we have now. I can't even fathom it. A child will speak this, I say, this one is queens, this one is kings, this one is baby, this one is, what nonsense are we talking about? The time we invest in developing other people's language and culture, if we invest it in our own, Africa will be one of the best continents in the world. A foreign language is what we are coming here to infuse on us to speak the queen and king and the baby and everything. When our own, there is no restriction for schools. There is no law for schools to ensure that at least 2 or 3 local languages are spoken in the school or taught in the school. The government is doing nothing about it, and our languages are eroding. Nobody is caring about it. All you want to tell me is Queen's English and King's English. When our own traditional tongue is fading away, we have demarketed Africa, and for demarketing Africa, we have suffered a lot of losses. And the upcoming generation are the ones I feel pains for. As we celebrate Children's Day, ask parents this question. How many parents in their home speak their native tongue to their children? How many? How many parents? This should be a clear call to parents. As we mark Children's Day today, parents should begin to teach their children their native dialects. That should be a call for duty for parents. When you say somebody is from the western part of this country, Nigeria, that person should be able to speak Yoruba. That child should be able to speak Yoruba. If it's from the eastern part, that child should be able to speak Igbo or any of the dialects within the eastern part. If I'm from the northern part, you should be able to speak one of the dialects from your own area as your means of true identity as someone, an indigenous of that place. We shouldn't be paying lip service. The restoration and emancipation of Africa should be a duty for all parents if we want to remain Africans. Because very soon, even our names will no longer have any linkage to the African continent. Most people now bear white, green. You see an African child, there is no trace of the African name there. Emmanuel Grace, Thompson Jack. Well, what culture are we replicating? You see an Igbo boy, there is no Igbo name there. They will tell you, churches will tell you, don't even answer Igbo name. It is diabolic. It is evil. Your family name now are evil. They will tell you, change your name. Don't answer the names of your forefathers anymore. And you say it's not madness. The same Bible they read, tell them, do not destroy the ancient boundaries of your forefathers. That is what the Bible says. And what are the ancient boundaries? Your culture, your tradition. Your true identity are your ancient boundaries. And you that preaches the same thing, the same Bible you read, will tell somebody not to bear the family name. Because the family is cursed. It is you that is cursed. It is your generation that is cursed. Because cursed be you that curses another. I don't understand the mentality we have, the ideologies we share. Everything is quite unacceptable. It is quite annoying. You condemn yourself for another person's tradition and culture, and tomorrow you want the land to bless you. It is quite annoying. And the earlier we turn and change from this evil we are doing to Africa, the better for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. That's a powerful one, and I really appreciate it, sir. The time is already 1 hour. So I just want us to draw the curtain here today. I have a lot that I think we need to talk about. But before I let you out of my way, a good advice to the parent, and as we are celebrating the Children's Day today, advice to the children, to African child, as we are stepping out. And I want you to do it in English, but we're going to round up the whole thing in our language, both your language, and I'm going to speak my language as well, because that is what we are bringing bit by bit into this. Time is coming that we're not going to use English anymore, that we will be using our own language, our own local language. But with it now, we'll be mixing it. Pending the time, we get what we need. All right, sir. Let me just let you advise the parents and the children as we are celebrating Children's Day today. Then we call it in.
Thank you. My advice to parents is, as parents, teach your kids the African way. It is said in our land that our culture, our tradition remains the root and the source of our survival as a people. When you don't enroot your child to your culture and tradition, you're exposing that child to be malnourished. And you know what malnutrition is? When the leaf of a tree falls out of the tree, it fades away. The tree is the culture and tradition of Africa. Why the leaves are the inhabitants of Africa, the children. When you cut off your child from the tree, you have condemned your child to death. Teach your kids the African way. Name your children the African name. Train them on the African culture and tradition. So when they grow, they will not depart from it. And to the kid, is tied to your level of knowledge on your culture and tradition. There's nothing you do on earth that makes you more successful than doing it through your originality and your identity. I am Obinna Onyeche Nkwachuku, and those are my names. I am a true born of Akadi Biohaji, Marco Olakwo Agurishi, Eche ethnicity, River State. And I am the true son of my father. I am Odumezu Akajo Fasato. I'm a proud African ancestral king, a commander of 8 deities, whose legs and hands are keenly tied on the soil, and nothing will change it. And that is how it should be to every African man. Be proud of whom you are. And it is through your ability to stand tall and defend your land that the blessings of the land comes to you. So as a child, ask your parents certain questions. If you are not bearing a name that is related to your lineage, ask them, why am I not bearing a name that is linking me to my true identity and originality? The parents should be able to answer you those questions. And if they don't, insist until they tell you your native name. Be proud of your native name, connect your ancestry to your native name, pray with your native names, and you will get the blessings of the land. When you pray with your foreign names, your ancestors doesn't know you, and the blessings of your ancestry will never come to you. So you must link your life, your identity, your originality to your ancestry. It is through this you can be able to harness the blessing of the land. On this note, Manashe, Henna Krono Tabo Font of Organihu Ashi Henna Jamonwa, Omocha, Yazo, also Chawaya Yazaria. dịka ọdụm ezumezu onye isi alụla kwa mbamishi ma na-akụ ọfọ ọganihu nye ụmụnye kwa anyị na-aṅụrị ihe gbasara Children's Day na Nigeria dị mụbe nwa ma na-akụ ọfọ ọmụmụ anụghị m abụọ mụ atọ mụ anọ he dịka ụmụ amakọnụ ụmụnụ ga-emụbụ ndeke gị rubishi ndeke gị bara n'uru ma na-ewere ọfọ ala na-akụgide ụmụnye na-asọ ọpụpụ na mbata obeje ayọ onye si n'uje na-alụla n'ụlọ na-alọkwule ya achọchụ ọkụkọ nwa dawa ọkọ wee mbọmbọ ọsọ a na-ejikwa abịa enwe ogwe ma na-achị bọbụla anyị ga-eje ụmụnye ga-eje ha ọjọọ ama mewe ka ọbụla tiara aka na ha ọjọọ ala mebọ ya onye tekwara aka na ha ọma ala gọchie ya ashọbụ kirikiri ga na-agbụkọ ose na-arị abụ otu anya hụrụ ji agha eke a na-ejikwa abịa enwe pọtụ onye ọbụla bụ onye ọjọọ ma na-achị ụwa mebọ ya aka dịbịa ọhịa dịbanye gbabara ụkwụ ọdụm ezumezu agbara onye eze ezumezu ikemba ezumezu onye isi alụla kwa mbamishi ma na-achị n'ubuchara ya akụ onye be eze ya baa nka eje ayọ onye tọrọ mmanụ ibe ahụ ọjọọ mee ya ga tọkọ maka ọma gara aga ma na-achị a gajere onye ihu gajere onye azụ mba Afrịka ga na-aga n'ihu omenala anyị ga-enọgide asụsụ anyị ga-enọgide ojiji anyị ga-enọgide onye si Afrịka ma bụrụ Afrịka bụ ọbụla o si bịa ga-ebụrụ ya amamikpe ma na-achị agajie n'eke agajie n'orie ya gajie n'afọ ya gajie n'afọ mkpụrụ ụbọchị anọ tụtara mkpụrụ ụbọchị asatọ na omenala ngozi ọganihu asọ ọ bụghị ọma bụ ha eji ama nzu ma na-amanye nzu ọganihu na-achị ụbọchị gị mara anyị mma nye gị dịka echi na-agwụ agwụ mmiri ọma bụ ha gị nso na ndụ acha anyanwụ ji atụrụ onye ọma na-achọrọ onye ọjọọ anyanwụ ga n'ihu ịchara anyị mmiri ọma ga n'ihu izuru anyị ta gajere onye ihu gajere onye azụ onye shi nye agala n'ihu onye kemgbe ọganihu amadịrị ya achị hem iji tụbara enyi gị tabụ ihe Chineke gị ji tụbara gị ma na-akpọ oke osimiri ba akụshi si osimiri bụchara anyị akụ maka mmiri bụ mmiri ọma onwe onye iro isi ya bụrụ gị onye iro ya bụrụ gị onye iro gachi abụrụ gị onye ọma ya bụrụ gị onye ọma ala anyị gbabara ụkwụ o ji eri onye ọma na-eri onye ọjọọ isi abụrụ gị ngọzi ya bụrụ gị ngọzi gachi abụrụ gị amamihe ya bụrụ gị amamihe dịka onye isi ala ma na-achị onye ọbụla bụ onye ọjọọ zọbụrụkwụ n'ala ala rie ya ga bụrụ onye ọma zọbụkwụ n'ala ala bụchara gị akụ onye mejọ ọkwanụ ya mgbaghara anyị ga mgbaghara gachịkwana gị iji ha ọjọọ na isi gị bụ ha eji akwadoro ala maka achị isi kote ebu ya gbaa ya ja ya dịrị mba Afrịka na mma dịrị mba Naijiria na mma dịrị mba Rivers steeti na mma dịrị mba Lechie na mma bụ ọbụla anyị si pụchia n'ụwa ala bụ otu ma na-achị ala n'oge gọzinu ụmụnye mụrụ abụ mgbe na-eje eje ya na-eme n'ihu gwa nọ n'azụ ọ na-eme n'azụ gwa nọ n'ihu maka achị kwa ọbụla gwụcha ọba aka na mbụ ha eji akwa ya ma na-achị agajiri onye ọbụla ya dịrị onye ọbụla na mma kwa anyị eme he ịkwalite mba Afrịka onye chi ha nye ma adịghị ya mma ya gara azụ ụlọ ha gasịkwa na ọ dị gị mma gaa gịrị ihu bịa ụwa maka achị o ji adị mma tụfu nkịta akpị echi ahụ atakwana ụkwa ji eze ya gajie ndewonu.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I want to say Siyabonga Kakulu to everyone joining us. I really appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. In South Africa means Siyabonga Kakulu. And in Yoruba land, they will say Eshe Lopo. To everyone joining us, this is where we're going to be calling it today for this weekend. Join us again next week as we're going to be bringing another topic and discussing issues that have to do with Africa, the growth we want in Africa, and the progress we're looking forward to have now and in the future. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Àti gbogbo àwọn èwe pé ẹ kú ọdún, ẹ kú ìyèdún, àṣeyíṣe àmọ́dún. A sì gbàládùra pé gbogbo ẹ̀yin òbí ẹ̀ ní fojú sunkún ọmọ ò lágbára Èdùmàrè. Ọdún yìí ti ṣojú gbogbo wa ní ọdún tí ń bọ̀ nínú ayọ̀ nínú àlàáfíà náà ni gbogbo wa yóò ṣe ọdún èwe ti ọdún tí ń bọ̀. Ayọ̀ àtàlàáfíà náà nípa bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan kan wá gbé iléeṣẹ́ rédíò ẹlẹ́rọ àmì ìtìtì lórí òkè waterproof ibẹ̀ náà la wà yìí, ibẹ̀ láti ń dá kẹ̀kẹ́ lúkẹ́. Ẹ máa bá wa gbé ta, ẹ máa dátà lókùlókù, ẹ máa dátà lókùlókù, ẹ máa pín ká gbogbo àgbáńlá ayé. Ojú òní ti wá. Ire báyìí lójú owó rí, ire náà nílé wa, ire lọ́dẹ̀ wa, ire tí a bá wà. Á pàdé ara wa níre láyọ̀ àti lálàáfíà ojú òní ti ẹnìkan kan wa èmi náà ni ọmọ yín ọ̀rẹ́ yín olólùfẹ́ yín Olúdáre Olúsanmọ olùṣọ́ àgùntàn Samuel Olúṣẹ́gun Olùsàn èmi ìnà pápá dábùtọ̀ fọmọkùnrin bọ̀lẹ̀bọ̀lẹ̀ ọmọ sísìn sọ kárí kọ́lé sí ọmọ níyànjọ́ pàtàkì eruku lẹ́lẹ́tò ojú òní tiẹ̀ jẹ́ láti ilé ìyá mi lòdì nípa bí ẹ̀kọ́ bá mi ò sí nílá àjẹ́ àsọ̀tàn bẹ́ẹ̀lẹ́ àdógbò ẹ̀ràn fún mi jẹ ọmọ orí mo ló sì lè gbọ́n máa jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ ṣe tẹ̀jọ́ máa jẹ́ ọ̀tí ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tí ó jẹ ojú òní ti wá ìbàjẹ́ òní bá wa. To everyone, thank you very much. You can imagine all what I said. There is no single English in it. Can you also do the same? So please, let's keep our language real. Let's keep it alive. English is not important. We are just using it to communicate because it's the only one that we can use now. But time is coming, we're going to remove this nonsense language out of the Africa and we'll be using African language to communicate with ourselves. Thank you very much, His Excellency. I really appreciate you for coming out to be part of this great time. I celebrate you so much, and I love it. I even looking forward to sit down with you in the palace and learn more of your language. As a matter of fact, I think I need to come down to, to the palace and come and sit down and learn more of the language because it's a great thing. I enjoy it and I love it. I love it so much. Thank you very, very much, sir. And have a great weekend. I will see you again next week by the grace of God. God bless you. Before you go, sir, on the throne where you sit, I just want you to pray for African child and pray for the African potter as we stepping up. I just feel like you should use the throne to pray for all the children listening to us all over the world and listen to the African potter.
Thank you. We are going to do it in an ancestral way, the African way. It's me. Taa ụbọchị bụrụ uru, ụbọchị pụrụ iche. A na-akpọchi okike, ekekere igwe ekekere ụwa. Igwe anyị ndanda, ofu ya na shi na-abịara ole. Ana na-ebe bụ na-ata nri. Gaa n'ogwu. Asa agba bọtụ n'ogwu agba bọtụ n'ogwu bụ oge emere akụ. Ihe egbu nzu ọma. Ihe ọdụ ka anyị na-ama nzu na-asị n'mba Afrịka, ebe ọbụla mba Afrịka nọ, ọma ga-adịrị unu, na-amụ n'ụzọ ogologo ndụ, anyị isi ike, ọganihu, onye tụrụ ọya amụ amụ, isi nwa amarie nne, isi nne amarie nwa. Anyị ga-atụrụ na eke mụọ na eke, tụrụ n'orie mụọ n'orie, tụrụ na afọ mụọ na mkpụrụ ụbọchị anọ tọtara mkpụrụ ụbọchị asatọ anyị ga-atụrụ anyị ga na-amụ. Ụmụ anyị mụrụ amụ ga-abara anyị. Anyị ezocha ha ga-azụgharị anyị. Anyị na-asọ ọgụgụrụ isi ga-awụ nke ebe ọbụla ha jere a ga-alọta na ndụ. Onye ọjọọ ọbụla ga-achọ ọgwụ ụmụ anyị ka ọ ga-ahụ nwunye ma na-akpọ ụfọdụ na-akpọ ọfọ ezumezu na-akpa agbara mmiri achụ ụwa si na mmiri akụchikwa na mmiri ma na-akpa ala ụlọ akwọ mba na isii aka dịbịa ọhịa ji mmenwe ike mba ngwanụ n'ụlọ aka ọmụmụ aka akụ aka ọganihu aka ogologo ndụ aka aga isi ike chee agbada ha bụ ukwu chee ngwa mana achọ ọ ga-edere mba Afrịka na mma ọ ga-edere mba Nigeria na mma. Africa bụ 54 countries and we are projecting for the 55th country. Mana achị na these 54 to 55 countries ụmụrị na-amara amara Afrịka ogologo ndụ isi ike onwe onye ke ga-anwụchi ọnwụ onye ọbụla ga-aka nka ga-anọ ndụ bika ma wụrụ ihe chi okike mere ha ga-anwụ n'ụwa. Onye chịkwana ụmụ ya ga-abara anyị uru chee ọdụm ezumezu ewere eme mmadụ mana chidododo ihe ọbụla na-ere ọkụ na mba Afrịka udochi aka ọ ga-achị na-ekecha n'orecha na afọcha na mkpọ a ga-azọrọ ihe ga-achọrọ anya azụ ọ ya akpọ n'aha ala kpọọ n'aha chi okike kere igwe ka ụwa ọ ga-adịrị anyị otu a onye eze ubi okwu.
Much, sir. That is the thank you. Newo Newo. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Africa. This is the African Portal where we portray African culture, African originality, and we believe in this great continent, that this continent will be a great continent if we believe in what we have in Africa. With this, I just want to remind you, wear Africa, speak Africa, eat Africa. God bless you. We'll see you again next week by the grace of God. His Excellency, thank you very much, sir. I will talk to you after the program. God bless you. Have a great weekend and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, sir. Siabunga. Thank you.
Yeah,
God bless everyone.
Happy Children's Day. Happy Children's Day. It's a pleasure.
To all the children in the world, happy Children's Day. Enjoy this and we'll see you.
Mi hallelujah torí mo jẹ́ dúdú. Mo dúpẹ́ mo ṣọpẹ́. Ibi orí dání sí là ń gbé. Africa, Africa, motherland, ilé ní ilé ń jẹ́. I'm black, I'm proud, I have my pride. Mo dúpẹ́ ẹlẹ́dàá tó dá mi ní dúdú. From north to south, from east to west of the African continent. Black is gold, I'm beautiful, títí kárí ayé. To be black is to be great. Nani 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 Omurani la nani Ibi ẹlẹ́dàá dá mi sí ilẹ̀ Áfíríkà. Ọpẹ́ pàtàkì lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ lẹ́dùnmáre rọ́bà. Kágbé dúdú lárugẹ, kágbáṣà wá lárugẹ. Bíbí rẹ̀ ròṣẹ́ fowó rẹ̀, mo mọ ìyára mi, dúdú ni mí. Dúdú ni mí, mo múnú ṣe funfun. Obama Barack ṣe bí dúdú náà ni. Chinua